Hello, my name is Kevin Dupria, student number 1801316. This is my submission for the COS330 Practical 8 Buffer Overflow demonstration. The type of overflow we're going to be looking at today is integer overflow or wraparound. Before we head into an example, I would just like to discuss some of the theory and also stress the importance of this topic. Integers are a 32-bit, which means that they have a maximum size of 2 to the power of 32 minus 1, which as you can see is a very large number, but it's not uncommon for computer scientists and people in the financial sector to reach this number. And this is where the issue begins. Before we get into the more technical details, just to stress the importance of this topic, the common weakness enumeration, which is a community-developed list of software and hardware weakness types, has compiled a list of the most dangerous software weaknesses for 2021. And looking at this list, we can see that our overflow type, integer overflow wraparound, is actually ranked number 12, which is one position lower than 2020. However, it is still critically important, especially when considering design choices and doing implementations for any sort of program or system. Taking a closer look at our overflow on the CWE website, we can see that it happens when an integer value is too large to store, and when this occurs, the value of that integer can become very small or even negative. A lot of the time people do rely on wrapping, however, it has security consequences if the wrap is unexpected, which is essentially what attackers will use now in our demonstration. This is especially the case if the integer overflow can be triggered using user-supplied inputs, and in our demonstration we will show that as well. Looking at this table over here, we can see that it is very available, and it does have major impact on a system, such as denial of service, which results in a whole bunch of different types of issues for any kind of system. When it comes to integrity, you can see that there's a modified memory, and that's not great, especially if there's stuff in memory that you need to take care of and control. Then confidentiality, availability, and access control. The technical impact of this is to bypass protection mechanisms, or simply just modify a value to something that is not the actual and anticipated value of it. So this is where the importance of the integer overflow or wraparound is required. We will now head into an example of this topic. So here we are in our basic example. As you can see, it's a basic account system which I've implemented in Java, and initially you can see that the account balance is 2 trillion, which is close to this largest integer possible, and every time you enter the price of an item, it adds to that account balance. So for the purposes of this practical, let's say that that is a amount of debt that somebody owes, and let's see what happens when we get to that big integer. So say you have a debt of 2 trillion and you have no idea when to stop, so you decide, okay, you want to buy Cape Town, you want to buy the Constantina house, and that is 140 million rand. So you say, okay, I want that house, so 140, 123, 123. That is your balance. Okay, then you're like, okay, cool, we can take this further, and you go and you buy a Bentley Mulsanne for 7.4 million, and just for the purpose of this demo, we're going to make it 7,483,600. Okay, now you can still see that we are 47 rand short, well, 47 digits short, or integers short of the biggest number here. So let's say now you're tired of buying expensive stuff, so you go to Burger King and you buy yourself a burger. You now are on the limit. You have an integer that is the max number it could possibly be, and let's say that you go to KFC and you donate 2 rand to charity. That is now your debt, which means it's now a negative balance, and technically somebody owes you money now for everything that you bought, and that is the importance of making sure that you do not have integer overflow or wrapping. I hope this demonstration has been clear enough to stress the importance of that, and yeah. There is another type of wrapping, that of overflow, which is the input mismatch, and this happens when you enter a number that is greater than the greatest integer and the program is expecting an integer. So some of the disadvantages of this is it causes a denial of service, as we saw in the specification. This could stop the system. It could have events that cause DOS attacks may not be traceable because the system crashes, which means there might not be a log of it. System reliability and robustness is questionable. It means that if there are multiple users, other users could lose all their data and the progress that they've made on the system itself. And yeah, now we're going to have a look at an example of this. So here we are again at our example, and as you can see here, we've changed the initial balance to 0. And for the purposes of this demonstration, for the input mismatch, we're going to run the program. Sorry, we've just recompiled it over there. So now you can see that the balance is 0, and now let's say we want to enter something that's greater than 2,147,000. So for this instance, let's just enter 2,200,000,000. Yeah, so 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Okay, and we enter that. Now here we can see that there's an input mismatch exception, which means that it's no longer taking our input as an integer, even though we are declaring it as an integer. And that's because there's no way to store this as an integer without having a special kind of integer or a different data type. So as you can see here, it says here input string. So it's taken it as a string, and then inside of Java, it's obviously tried to convert it to an integer. However, there's no way of possibly doing that. And this is how we can see how the denial of service attacks can happen, which stops the system. There might be a loss of data and everything like that. So this is the second type of overflow, which is the input mismatch. And it's putting in an integer that's way too big to be an integer, and that essentially breaks the system. Thank you so much for your time, and I hope this demo has been compelling enough.